How's everyone doing today? So what we're basically going to talk about today is going to be SELinux, HTTP, and also HTTPS. My name is Calvin Barber. I'm in the class for ISA 4220, and it is at Kennesaw State University with Andrew Green. Let's get started. So just to break it down in our agenda, what we're going to be talking about today is basically we're going to be talking about SELinux, the hardening techniques for SELinux, and then we're going to be talking about HTTP, and then the hardening tactics for HTTP, and then we're going to be also talking about HTTPS and the hardening tactics for HTTPS. So let's get into some SELinux. Basically, SELinux has users and roles for the users as well. And getting more into that, SELinux was created by NSA, which is the National Security Agency, and then getting into some enforcement levels of SELinux. Basically, the SELinux is a Linux kernel implementation of a flexible MAC mechanism, which is also, you can see down here, which is a mandatory access control, which is basically a type of enforcement. In this type of enforcement, a type of identifier is assigned to every user and object. Basically, an object can be a file or process, and then to access an object, a user must be authorized for the object type. These authorizations are defined as the SELinux policy for enforcements. And then basically the SELinux kernel and user modifications, making it almost bulletproof. So basically, the NSA has taken the Linux to a whole nother level by creating SELinux. So basically, the Linux server that was created, and then NSA made it even better by creating SELinux. And this chart down here on the right-hand corner basically describes how Linux was one, and now SELinux is broken into two, basically describing like the security policy is different, and then the enforcement levels are separated, rather than Linux, how they're actually in one. Going into some hardening of SELinux, basically you want to encrypt your data communication. You want to also avoid using FTTP telnet or RLogin services, and you want to do that because as under most networks, these services can be captured by anyone on the same internet as you just by using a packet sniffer, and then also minimizing the software you download or install. That will also help avoid installing useless software to avoid like any vulnerabilities on your system, and then just keeping the kernel and software up to date. HTTP. Wow, I can't. Sorry, HTTP. Getting into this, basically, it's the basic knowledge around it. It's a hypertext protocol, which is an application design within the framework of the Internet Protocol Suite, and basically, HTTP runs on through port 80, which is the normal port for HTTP, and getting into that, like most people understand that it goes through port 80, but which it's basically the insecure communicator connection between the user of the network. So HTTP is the insecure. So if you're the user and you're trying to connect to a website, HTTP is an insecure connection compared to HTTPS, which we're going to be talking about in the next few slides. And then HTTP server waits for a user's request, and then upon receiving that request, the server will send back the status of that line, which is going to be HTTP / 1.1 OK, which that is just basically saying that the request has been okayed. Going into some hardening tactics of HTTP, just basically make sure the secure make sure to secure your HTTP response headers. These headers are basically given more information to show the browser of how the user wants the site to behave. Getting more into that, some of these headers can contain content of metadata, such as like content encoding or cache control or like status error codes. And then just always document your root directory. Don't let anyone obviously have access to the roots of or the root directory for your server. And then also test your configuration file settings and syntax, and you can do that with httpd/t. And then also access your log files of the web server, and then you can also access the error files of the web server as well. Getting to HTTPS, it's basically just the more secure version of HTTP. HTTPS is like highly used for highly confidential online transactions, such as like online banking and online shopping. So like Amazon, and then if you're doing online banking through your credit union, then this site is most likely going to be HTTPS. And I actually forgot to throw the website in here, actually a picture, but your site will actually turn green. The top of the bar will turn green once you have a secure connection to that site, which I thought was pretty cool as well. And then HTTPS runs on port 443, which a lot of people know, which is the secure connection or the encrypted connection between the user and the network. And then HTTPS pages have two secure protocols, which are SSL and TLS. And getting more into that, HTTPS pages have two secure protocols to basically encrypt communications, which are the SNL, which is a secure socket layer, or the TLS, which is the transport layer security. And then both SSL and TLS use asymmetric public key infrastructure, which is the PKI, and then it initially sends an SSL certificate to the browser, and then this certificate contains a public key needed to secure the time on the website. And then in the end, the user's browser and website will undergo like a SSL handshake, basically meaning that it will establish the secure connection between them. And then, like I was saying, once that handshake happens, the website at the top will become green. The little bar up there where the website URL is will become green, and it becomes green like on Safari, Firefox, or any other browser that you're using, and you actually know that it is secure. Or it also have like a little padlock right beside the HTTP URL, showing that it'll be secure. Going into some hardening tactics for HTTPS, just basically you want to harden the SSL and TLS layers. This will help for any vulnerabilities or any attacks that you could possibly have. And then just make sure that the SSL and TSL layers are being configured correctly, because obviously if they're not configured correctly, they can lead to attacks or vulnerabilities to your server, which in the end is just not good at all and can be harmful to your systems and servers. Here are my references that I used for some of the information collected, and I just want to thank you guys for listening, and awesome.